Make no mistake, members of the reaction, or those with any rightist sympathies whatsoever, I don't care who you are. I don't care what our prior relationship may be. Make no mistake, we are enemies. At the moment, I haven't the means to liquidate you. I may never have the means. But if I do, rest assured, I will. After the revolution, oh, you will hang. I will not waste perfectly good bullets when I can use and reuse again a nice comfortable gibbet for you. Even if nothing whatsoever happens in our lifetimes, even if you, yourself, and others like you get away with your crimes, or even your complacency in such crimes, if not you, then your successors will be defeated and dealt with mercilessly. My dear hipsters, you think you are so humanitarian, maybe even leftist. Meanwhile, you displace comrades darker than ourselves from their neighborhoods, while thinking a fucking drum circle will solve every problem. In a way, I pity you. You are so unbelievably delusional. That you are barely worthy of contempt. I myself may be a worthy object of at least relative contempt. So if even I hold you in said contempt, for all my faults, and they are many, I am on the right side of history. I am always amazed when I find such seemingly reasonable people to at least indirectly be in league with the reaction. Some of them are very close to me, which makes it even worse. But if I am able to dance on the graves of some of my monarchist ancestors, I will certainly be happy to dance upon yours when the time comes. if not yours necessarily, then those of either your successors or descendants, or both, whichever they may be. Again, make no mistake, we are enemies. You are, of course, welcome to kill me. At this point, I'll tell you honestly, I've little to lose. I may not take it upon myself to personally harm you as much as I would like, because at the moment, even for the foreseeable future, such an act would be futile. Destroying 1 or even 10 or 100 of you would unfortunately change nothing. Which is a pity. Would I liquidate all of you had I the means? Perhaps. Some, maybe even most, would survive. Perhaps even all. But needless to say, you would survive only as the pathetic remnants of a thoroughly despised group, which is worse than death. In death, you need not care anymore. In life, you have no choice but to care. If I were more merciful, yes, I would undertake a quixotic crusade and eliminate those I could. But, 1, what good would it do? 2, strangely enough, I prefer that you live and suffer terribly. A pity that it is quite possible that you never will suffer, that you will live the rest of your days in relative comfort. I suppose what will be for now. Eventually, though, well, we all will perish. That much cannot be denied. It does sadden me to think that you will very likely live, for our time, a decent enough life. Secure, well, among many things, in whiteness. What is to be done? I suppose so long as those who would be potential allies are content to have a months-long picnic in New York while thinking that the reactionaries and the powers that be will relinquish their mandate simply based on what is right. My dear hipsters, perhaps I pity you the most. Except that I hate you. I do. I'm quite okay with you hating me as well. In fact, your love would be quite an insult. I would say no offense intended, but I've no reason not to offend you. I don't. At least for our time, I must tolerate you, and even drink with you. Eventually, your kind will perish. Even simple demographics will decree that. I need not do anything. I suppose then carry on. The march of history itself is inevitable. The reaction has held the upper hand for a long time, and could potentially hold it for even longer. Eventually you will lose, though. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50, 100, even 1,000 years from now. In the long run, you are doomed. I may be fatally flawed in many areas, but in others, you cannot deny that I am very much, absolutely correct. Let us, rather privileged white folks, keep that in mind as we spend yet another night in comfortable beds, in, quote, safe neighborhoods, and secure in the fact that even the more disheveled and radical among us are relatively safe from institutional persecution. You have to admit, fellow white kids, it is kind of nice knowing that, well, if we absolutely needed to, we could cut our hair and dress the part and be perfectly okay. Eventually, well, we all must die. Even more unfortunately, I fear that despite the so-called penchant for social justice among our generation, our time will pass with, at best, incremental improvements. Alone I can, and therefore will, do absolutely nothing. Just as I suppose you will. But for those in the know, take heart in that, even after we are gone, the march of history and the universe itself will continue. The reaction can't win forever. Even simple demographics determine that. For those of you in the know, particularly those comrades who are particularly precious to me, I love you, but I'm afraid we just might be proper fucked. And it seems as though there is nothing that can be done about it.